1. We've got a real treat for you, a 1973 Pontiac Grand Prix that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $13,950, and let me tell you, it's a steal for what you're getting. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this car really in good condition? Well, according to the seller's description, it absolutely is. The ad mentions that the car has a clean title and has been well maintained over the years. With just 19,937 miles on the odometer, which has rolled over once, this Grand Prix has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 455 engine with a 750 Edelbrock carburetor and Pertronix ignition. This baby purrs like a kitten and roars like a lion when you step on the gas. And with rear-wheel drive, you'll feel every bit of that power as you cruise down the road. But the Grand Prix isn't just about performance, it's about luxury too. The interior features plush leather seats with 6-way power adjustment for both the driver and passenger. You'll also appreciate the power steering, brakes, and windows, as well as the tilt wheel and inside adjustable rear-view mirror. Trust me, this is the kind of car you could drive all day without ever getting tired. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical about buying a classic car like this, but rest assured, the seller seems genuinely sincere in their description. They're not trying to hide anything or pull a fast one on potential buyers. What you see is what you get with this Grand Prix. So if you're in the market for a vintage ride that's equal parts style, power, and comfort, this 1973 Pontiac Grand Prix might just be the car of your dreams. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Head on over to Craigslist and check it out for yourself. 2. We're taking a closer look at a 1965 Ford Mustang that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic pony car is priced at $5,750, and while it's not in perfect condition, it's got a lot of potential for the right buyer. First things first, let's address the elephant in the room. This Mustang is a project car. The seller is upfront about the fact that it doesn't come with a motor or transmission. But don't let that discourage you. The car has a clean title and solid original floors, which is a great starting point for a restoration project. One of the most important things to look for when buying a classic car is matching VIN numbers, and this Mustang has them all present and correct. The door tag and apron V-ends match up, which is a good sign that this car is a legitimate C-code Mustang. Now, I know some of you might be hesitant to take on a project car like this, but think about the possibilities. With a little elbow grease and some patience, you could turn this Mustang into the car of your dreams. Imagine cruising down the road in a beautifully restored 1965 Mustang, turning heads wherever you go. The seller seems like a straightforward person who is willing to work with out-of-state or overseas buyers. They're not interested in trades or scams, which is always a good sign. And while the price is firm at $5,750, I think it's a fair asking price for a car with this much potential. Of course, as with any project car, there are no guarantees. You'll need to put in the time and effort to get this Mustang back on the road. But if you're up for the challenge and have a passion for classic cars, this could be the perfect opportunity to own a piece of American automotive history. So if you're ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work, head on over to Craigslist and check out this 1965 Ford Mustang. With a little bit of love and a lot of determination, you could be the proud owner of a true classic. 3. We've got a real gem for you, a 1964 Plymouth Barracuda that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $8,000, and let me tell you, it's a car with a story. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Barracuda. The seller describes it as a good car that needs a new home. While the paint has some bubbles, the seller assures us that the car doesn't have any serious rust issues. The floor is solid, and the trunk only has small holes under the spare tire. The interior is also said to be nice. Now, here's where things get interesting. The seller has owned this car for 16 years, and it was originally fixed up by their old friend, Doc. Doc was a veteran of the USMC, an Alaskan commercial fisherman, and an MD. He loved women, cars, and fishing, and he lived a full life before passing away at the age of 78. The seller admits that Doc would be upset that the car has been sitting around for the last decade, and they want it to go to someone who will use and enjoy it. The car comes with some extra parts, including a beautiful grille that the seller scored from eBay years ago, a nice spare bubble-back window, new taillight lenses, and mis-engine parts. It also has a single exhaust with a nice Flowmaster muffler and some nice original hubcaps. Now, let's talk about the engine situation. The original 1964 engine ran smoothly before it was pulled, but the freeze plugs were balls of rust, and the engine was getting a bit tired. The seller replaced it with a 1966 engine that was in better shape, but that engine also had some issues due to a popped freeze plug and possibly a cracked block, which the seller admits was their fault for forgetting to add antifreeze. The seller has found a good option for a replacement engine from a company in Spokane that will ship one for under $3,000 without a core. The seller has made a video of the car that they say is much better than pictures, and they have other videos of the car running on their YouTube page. They're asking $7,500 for the car and won't go any lower. Overall, this 1964 Plymouth Barracuda seems like a solid project car for someone who loves classic American muscle. It's got a cool history, some extra parts, and a lot of potential. While it does need some work, particularly in the engine department, the seller seems to be upfront about the car's condition and is willing to assist with delivery and transport. Before, we're diving into a real gem from the Craigslist treasure trove, a 1966 Chrysler Windsor that's got me all revved up. This beauty is currently listed for $10,500, and let me tell you, it's got some serious potential. Now, I gotta be straight with you. The seller says it's in good condition, but there are a few things to consider. The odometer's showing 116,000 miles, which isn't too bad for a car pushing 60 years old. It's rocking a beefy 383 V8 engine and a smooth 727 automatic transmission. Here's the exciting part. The seller's currently got the engine out and is rebuilding it. That's a huge plus for any potential buyer. They're even hinting that the price might go up after this work, so if you're interested, now's the time to jump on it. This Windsor's got some fresh upgrades too. New brakes, new radiator, rebuilt carb, and a sweet new dual exhaust that probably sounds like music to our ears. The gas tank's been redone and lined, and they've even replaced the rear axle bearings. Now I've got to keep it real with you. There are a few pinholes in the lower rear quarter on the driver's side. But hey, for a car this age, that's not too shabby. The seller says there's no other rust, which is pretty impressive. This Windsor is all in one piece, folks. You could drive it as is and turn heads, or take it to the next level with a full restoration. Either way, this 1966 Chrysler Windsor is a piece of American automotive history that's begging for some TLC. Remember, I'm just as excited about these classics as you are, and I want you to get the full picture. This Windsor isn't perfect, but it's got a lot going for it. If you're in the market for a project car with tons of potential, this might just be your ticket to cruise night stardom. 5. We're checking out a piece of American luxury from the early 80s, a 1983 Lincoln Continental that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $2,800. Now, I've got to be straight with you folks. The sellers listed this one in fair condition, so let's dive into what that really means. This Continental is powered by a V8 5.0-liter engine, which is actually Ford's reliable 302 cubic inch power plant. The seller says it runs good, which is always a plus for a car of this vintage. It's got rear-wheel drive and an automatic transmission, perfect for cruising in style. One of the most intriguing things about this Lincoln is the odometer reading, just 49,713 miles. That's incredibly low for a car that's nearly 40 years old. However, given the fair condition, we might want to take that with a grain of salt. It could be 149,713 or even 249,713, so it's worth checking out in person. The seller mentions it's got new tires, which is a nice bonus. It's also fully loaded with electric features, typical of a luxury car from this era. Just keep in mind that with older electrics, there's always a chance of some quirks or issues. The body is white, and being a four-door sedan, it's got that classic boxy 80s look that's starting to gain some retro appeal. However, the fair condition rating suggests there might be some cosmetic issues, maybe some rust, dings, or faded paint. It's hard to say without seeing it in person. At $2,800 or best offer, this Continental could be a decent project for someone looking to dive into the world of classic American luxury cars. It's not going to be perfect, but it might just be the right car for someone willing to put in a little TLC. Remember, folks, I'm all about giving you the real scoop on these Craigslist finds. This '83 Lincoln Continental has potential, but it's also got its fair share of question marks. If you're interested, make sure to give it a thorough inspection before making a deal. 6. We're diving into a real gem from the Craigslist treasure trove, a 1982 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray Collector's Edition. This beauty is currently listed for $10,000, and let me tell you, it's got some serious collector's appeal. Now, I've got to be straight with you folks. This isn't a showroom fresh Vetta, but it's got a lot going for it. The seller describes it as being in good condition, and with 120,000 miles on the clock, it's clear this C3 has been enjoyed over the years. But here's the kicker. It's one of only 6,659 collector's edition models produced in 1982, making it a pretty rare find. The seller says it starts and runs brilliantly with no major mechanical issues. That's music to any classic car enthusiast's ears. It's packing a V8 under the hood, paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive. Classic Corvette configuration right there. Now let's be real. It's got some old car quirks, as the seller puts it. The radio's recently given up the ghost, and the passenger side headlight is a bit slow on the draw. The front decal has seen better days too, thanks to some sun exposure. But hey, that's all part of the charm with these older rides, right? On the plus side, the seller's been keeping up with minor maintenance and tune-ups, though it hasn't seen a ton of miles in recent years. That could be a good thing, as it means less wear and tear. At $10,000 or best offer, this '82 Corvette Collector's Edition could be a sweet deal for the right buyer. It's not perfect, but it's a running, driving piece of American sports car history. And with its limited production numbers, it's got some serious potential as a collector's item. Remember, folks, I'm all about giving you the real scoop on these Craigslist finds. This '82 Corvette has its quirks and flaws, but it also has a lot of character and potential. If you're in the market for a classic Vette with a bit of extra rarity, this could be your ticket to cruise night stardom. Just make sure to give it a thorough inspection before making a deal. 7. We're diving into a real gem from the Craigslist treasure trove, a 1965 Chevrolet Impala SS that's currently up for grabs at $10,000. Now let me tell you, this isn't your average Impala, and I'm excited to break it down for you. First off, this is a numbers-matching car, which is always a big deal for collectors. It's sporting a 327 engine that's been built by Victory Motors in Marshall, Minnesota. That alone piques my interest, as it suggests some serious performance potential. Now, here's where it gets even better for the purists. It's got a 4-speed manual transmission paired with those sweet bucket seats. That's a combo that'll make any muscle car fan's heart race. But let's keep it real here, folks. This Impala isn't a show-ready cream puff. The seller is upfront about it needing both body work and interior work. That's something you'll need to factor into your budget if you're thinking about making an offer. On the bright side, the seller says it runs and drives well, which is crucial. They've also thrown in some goodies. You're getting all new brakes in the box and several pieces of the original chrome trim. Oh, and did I mention there's a new clutch? And not just any clutch. We're talking about a Stage 3 racing clutch that was necessary to handle the power of that built motor. That gives us a hint that this Impala might be packing some serious punch. Now, $10,000 might seem a bit steep given the work it needs, but remember, this is a numbers-matching '65 Impala SS with a built motor and a manual transmission. That's a combination that doesn't come around every day. As always, I want to be completely transparent with you all. This Impala is a project, no doubt about it. But for the right person, it could be an amazing opportunity to own a piece of American muscle car history. Just make sure you're ready for the work it'll take to bring this beauty back to its former glory. So there you have it, folks. A 1965 Chevy Impala SS that's rough around the edges but full of potential. If you're up for a challenge and have a passion for classic Chevys, this might just be the project you've been waiting for. 8. We're diving into a real gem from the Craigslist treasure trove, a 1971 Mercury Cougar convertible that's currently up for grabs at $13,000. And let me tell you, this isn't your average Cougar. It's a summer-ready stunner that's been given some serious love. First off, the seller describes this beauty as being in excellent condition, which is always music to our ears. Now, let's talk about what makes this Cougar purr. It's packing a 351 Cleveland under the hood, which has been upgraded with a Holley Sniper fuel injection system. That's a combo that should provide some serious performance and reliability. But the upgrades don't stop there, folks. This Cougar's been treated to a whole host of improvements in recent years. We're talking a new radiator, battery, one-wire alternator, Petronix ignition, and a completely rebuilt brake system. The front end's been rebuilt, and it's sporting a 9-inch rear end with a 325 locker and posy traction. That's some serious hardware. The convertible top is new, and all the lights have been converted to LED for that modern touch. They've even added sport mirrors for a little extra flair. Inside, you'll find an RX-7 dash with a tack, even though this isn't an XR7 model. Now, let's keep it real. The odometer has rolled over, so the true mileage is unknown. The paint is described as old but looking good, though not perfect. But hey, that just adds to the character, right? One of the coolest things about this Cougar is its history. It comes with a Marty report, build sheet, and has even been featured in a magazine and calendar. Talk about bragging rights. At $13,000, this '71 Cougar convertible seems like a pretty sweet deal. It's been well maintained, has a ton of upgrades, and is ready for cruising, showing, or just enjoying those summer drives. Remember, folks, I'm all about giving you the real scoop on these Craigslist finds. This Cougar isn't factory original, but it's been thoughtfully upgraded and well cared for. If you're in the market for a classic convertible that's ready to hit the road, this Mercury Cougar could be your ticket to summer fun. Just make sure to give it a thorough inspection before making a deal. 9. We're diving into an absolute gem from the golden era of muscle cars, a 1972 Dodge Charger that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $15,000. Let me tell you, this silver beauty is turning heads and making hearts race. Now, I've got to be real with you. The seller claims this Charger is in excellent condition, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. This classic coupe is looking super clean, just as advertised. With only 55,000 miles on the odometer, it's clear this baby has been well cared for over the years. Under the hood, we've got a robust 318 V8 engine that's ready to roar. But wait, there's more. The owner has added a performance intake manifold and headers, giving this already potent power plant an extra kick. Paired with a smooth automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, this Charger is all set to deliver that classic muscle car experience we all crave. The clean title is another big plus, giving you peace of mind about this Charger's history. And let's not forget that sleek silver paint job. It's the perfect color to show off those iconic 72 Charger lines. Look, I know $15,000 isn't pocket change, but for a slice of American muscle car history in this condition, it's a price that's hard to argue with. If you're in the market for a classic that's ready to cruise or show, this '72 Charger deserves a spot on your short list. Remember though, I always encourage potential buyers to see the car in person, maybe get a professional inspection, and take it for a test drive if possible. But from what I'm seeing here, this Charger looks like it could be a real winner. 10. We're taking a look at a true time capsule, a 1985 Buick LeSabre that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $4,500. This white beauty is a blast from the past that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Now let's get real about this LeSabre. The seller claims it's in excellent condition, and for the most part, they're not stretching the truth. This sedan has only 74,411 miles on the clock, which is incredibly low for a car of this age. It's powered by a 5.0L Oldsmobile 307 V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, a classic American setup. The good news keeps coming. It's got new tires, a fresh oil change, and a clean title. Plus, those specialty Oregon plates mean no DEQ needed. That's a nice bonus. The original paint and vinyl top are still intact, and the interior is described as excellent. The dash is crack-free, All gauges work and light up, and even the power antenna is functional. Talk about well-preserved, but let's be honest, it's not all perfect. The AC needs some TLC, and the headliner has sagged, though the seller has propped it up. The rear bumper fillers need replacing, and the driver's seat is frozen and needs work. These are common issues for cars of this age, but they're worth noting. Despite these minor flaws, this LeSabre seems to be a gem. It was owned by an elderly woman who barely drove it, which explains its great condition. The seller says it runs and drives like new, which is impressive for a 38-year-old car. At $4,500 OBO, this could be a great deal for someone looking for a well-preserved piece of 80s automotive history. As always, I recommend seeing the car in person and maybe getting a professional inspection before making a decision. But if you're in the market for a classic American sedan that's been lovingly maintained, this 1985 Buick LeSabre could be just the ticket. 11. We're diving into a real gem from the 80s, a 1985 Chrysler LeBaron convertible that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $15,000. Now I know what you're thinking, a LeBaron for $15K? But hold on to your hats, folks, because this isn't your average K car. First off, let's talk about that mileage. A mere 39,568 original miles. That's practically nothing for a car that's pushing 40 years old. The seller claims it's in like-new condition, and you know what? Based on the description, I'm inclined to believe them. This LeBaron is rocking a red exterior with a white leather interior, a combo that screams 80s luxury. But the real kicker? It's a turbo. That's right, this baby's got some unexpected zip under that boxy hood. Now let's get real for a second. The seller says they're the second owner and have kept it stored, barely driving it. That's great for preservation, but it also means you'll want to check all the rubber bits and seals carefully. Cars don't always like sitting still for long periods. The fact that it comes with all the original paperwork and manuals is a huge plus for collectors. It suggests this LeBaron has been babied since day one. At $15,000, it's definitely priced at the high end for a LeBaron. But if it's truly in like-new condition as the seller claims, it could be a unique opportunity for the right buyer. These convertible LeBarons, especially in such pristine condition, are becoming increasingly rare. Remember though, must-see to appreciate is always good advice. If you're seriously interested, go check it out in person. Look for any signs of rust, check how that turbo runs, and make sure all the electrical components are working. 80s cars can be finicky. Is it overpriced? Maybe. Is it a cool piece of 80s Americana that could turn heads at car shows? Absolutely. If you've got a thing for boxy convertibles with a bit of turbo kick, this LeBaron might just be your ticket to rad times. 12. We're checking out a piece of American muscle car history, a 1981 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $13,500 OBO. This gray beauty is looking for a new home, and it might just be the project you've been waiting for. Now let's get real about this Camaro. The seller is upfront that this isn't a full restoration, and that's reflected in the price. But don't let that discourage you. There's still a lot to love here. This Z28 is rocking its original drivetrain, which is always a plus for collectors. It's got the classic Camaro formula, V8 engine, rear-wheel drive, and an automatic transmission. The seller mentions it runs and drives, so that's a good start. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This Camaro has had some work done. We're talking newer interior, fresh paint, and new rims. That means you're getting a mix of original and updated parts, which could be perfect if you're looking for a driver rather than a 100% original show car. The clean title is a big plus, though it's currently on non-op status. That's not unusual for a classic car, but it's something to keep in mind if you're planning to drive it right away. The seller describes it as a nice, clean driver, which suggests it's in decent condition for its age. However, they're also clear that it's not perfect. That honesty is refreshing in the classic car world. At $13,500 OBO, it's priced in the mid-range for a Camaro of this era. The price could be justified if the work done is high quality, but as always, you'll want to see it in person to really assess its condition. Remember, this is a 40-year-old car, so expect some quirks and potential projects. But if you're looking for a Z28 that's had some love and is ready to hit the road with some additional TLC, this could be your ticket to Camaro coolness. As the seller says, it's best to see it in person and talk about the price. If you're serious about adding some 80s muscle to your garage, this Camaro Z28 could be worth a look. 13. We're diving into a true piece of American automotive history, a 1973 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royal convertible that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,000. This big, beautiful boat of a car is looking for a new captain, and it might just be the cruiser you've been dreaming of. Now, let's get real about this Olds. The seller describes it as being in good condition, which is pretty impressive for a car that's pushing 50 years old. It's got 125,000 miles on the clock, which isn't too bad considering its age. But here's the kicker. It's been owned by the same family for nearly 40 years. That's the kind of long-term ownership we love to see in classic cars. Under that massive hood, you'll find the legendary Rocket 455 V8 engine. This power plant was known for its smooth operation and plenty of low-end torque, perfect for cruising in style. Paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, this Delta 88 is set up for classic American driving pleasure. The seller says it starts and drives, which is always good news for a car of this vintage. However, they don't go into much detail about its condition, so you'll definitely want to give it a thorough inspection if you're serious about buying. Being a convertible adds a whole new level of cool to this already impressive car. Just imagine cruising down the boulevard with the top down, that big V8 rumbling away, pure automotive bliss. At $12,000, it's not exactly cheap, but it's not outrageous either for a classic convertible in good condition. The price could be justified if it's been well maintained over the years, but as always, you'll want to see it in person to really assess its condition. Remember, this is a 50-year-old car, so expect some quirks and potential projects. But if you're looking for a big, comfortable convertible with plenty of 70s style and a powerful V8, this Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royal could be just the ticket. As always, I recommend seeing the car in person, maybe getting a professional inspection, and taking it for a test drive if possible. But if you're in the market for a classic cruiser that'll turn heads wherever you go, this 73 Olds deserves a spot on your short list. 14. We're diving into a classic piece of American muscle, a 1981 Chevrolet Corvette Stingray Coupe, affectionately named Bella, that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $13,000. This blue beauty is looking for a new home, and it might just be the project you've been dreaming of. Let's get real about this Feta. With 75,000 miles on the clock, it's got some life experience, but that's not bad for a 43-year-old car. The seller describes it as being in good condition, and they've provided a pretty detailed rundown of its current state. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 Ci V8 engine, rated at 190 horsepower. It's paired with a manual transmission, which is always a plus for driving enthusiasts. The seller says it runs smooth and drives great, which is music to our ears. Now let's talk about the good stuff. It's got original glass T-tops, a current passing smog certificate, and current registration. The seller has also done some recent work, including a brand new CA catalytic converter, new EGR and repaired controller, new headlight actuator seals, and a new steering wheel. They've even upgraded to a Flowmaster exhaust system last year, but let's be honest, it's not all perfect. The seats need reupholstering, though the foam is still in good shape. The power locks aren't functioning, so you'll need to use the key. The rear tires are showing some age with cracking sidewalls, and there are some areas in the paint that need attention. At $13,000, it's priced in the mid-range for a Corvette of this era. The price could be justified given the recent work and overall condition, but as always, you'll want to see it in person to really assess its state. Remember, this is a 43-year-old car, so expect some quirks and potential projects. But if you're looking for a classic Corvette with some upgrades and plenty of potential, this 81 Stingray could be your ticket to Corvette coolness. As always, I recommend seeing the car in person, maybe getting a professional inspection, and taking it for a test drive if possible. But if you're in the market for a piece of American sports car history that'll turn heads wherever you go, Bella here deserves a spot on your short list. 15. We're taking a look at a true piece of American automotive history, a 1965 Plymouth Belvedere that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $12,000. This blue beauty is looking for a new home, and it might just be the classic ride you've been searching for. Now let's get real about this Belvedere. The seller describes it as beautiful and in good condition, which is pretty impressive for a car that's pushing 60 years old. With only 68,000 miles on the odometer, it seems this Plymouth hasn't been driven into the ground, which is always a good sign for a classic. Under the hood, we've got an 8-cylinder engine, which was typical for these mid-60s muscle cars. It's paired with an automatic transmission, making it a comfortable cruiser. However, I've got to point out something that doesn't quite add up. The seller lists it as front-wheel drive, FWD, which is almost certainly a mistake. The 65 Belvedere was rear-wheel drive, so that's likely just a typo in the listing. One of the standout features mentioned is the custom interior. That could be a real selling point, depending on the quality and style of the customization. It'd definitely be worth checking out in person to see how well it's been done. The seller doesn't go into much detail about the car's condition or history, which is a bit of a red flag. They're asking serious buyers to call for more information, which is fair, but it would have been nice to have a bit more detail in the listing itself. At $12,000, it's priced in the mid-range for a Belvedere of this era. The price could be justified if it's in truly good condition, and if that custom interior is top-notch. But without more information, it's hard to say for sure. Remember, this is a 58-year-old car, so expect some quirks and potential projects. But if you're looking for a classic mid-60s Plymouth with some custom touches, this Belvedere could be worth checking out. As always, I strongly recommend seeing the car in person, getting a professional inspection if possible, and taking it for a test drive before making any decisions. If you're in the market for a piece of 60s automotive Americana, this 65 Plymouth Belvedere could be your ticket to classic car coolness. Just make sure to do your due diligence. 16. We're diving into a real gem from the 60s, a 1967 Ford Fairlane that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $6,500. Now I've got to say, this listing has thrown me for a bit of a loop, so let's break it down together. First off, the seller lists this as a pickup, which is definitely not right. The Fairlane was a mid-size car, not a truck. So we're already dealing with some confusion here. They've also marked the odometer as having rolled over, showing 59,000 miles. In reality, this likely means it's done 159,000 miles or more, which is important to keep in mind. Now, let's focus on the positives. This Fairlane is packing a V8 engine, paired with an automatic transmission and rear-wheel drive, a classic American setup. The seller claims it's in good condition, which is pretty impressive for a car that's over half a century old. What's really interesting is the recent work that's been done. We're talking a new timing chain set, water pump and hoses, radiator, battery, and alternator. That's a significant amount of maintenance, which suggests the previous owner was taking care of this classic. The white paint could look sharp if it's in good condition, but unfortunately, we don't get any details about the body or interior condition. That's something you'd definitely want to check out in person. At $6,500, it's priced pretty reasonably for a 67 Fairlane, especially considering the recent mechanical work. However, the lack of detailed information and the confusion about the body type, pickup versus car, in the listing is a bit concerning. Remember, this is a 56-year-old car, so expect some quirks and potential projects. But if you're looking for a classic Ford with some recent mechanical refreshing, this Fairlane could be worth investigating. As always, I strongly recommend seeing the car in person, getting a professional inspection if possible, and taking it for a test drive before making any decisions. Make sure to clarify all the details with the seller too. There seems to be some confusion in the listing that needs clearing up. If you're in the market for a piece of 60s Ford history and don't mind doing a bit of detective work, this 67 Fairlane could be your ticket to classic car coolness. Just make sure you know exactly what you're getting into. 17. We're taking a look at a true slice of 70s automotive luxury, a 1977 Chrysler Cordoba that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $6,500 or best offer. This beauty is looking for a new home, and it might just be the classic cruiser you've been dreaming of. Now, let's get real about this Cordoba. The seller doesn't give us a ton of information, but what they do share is pretty promising. With just under 100,000 miles on the clock, 95,000 to be exact, it's got some life experience, but hasn't been run into the ground. The seller claims it runs great and starts every time, which is music to our ears when it comes to a car that's over 45 years old. The Cordoba was Chrysler's first attempt at a smaller, more personal luxury car, and it was a hit in its day. Known for its plush interiors, who can forget those rich Corinthian leather ads, smooth ride, and distinctive styling? These cars were all about cruising in comfort. Unfortunately, the seller doesn't give us any details about the condition of the body, interior, or specific mechanical components. They also don't mention which engine this Cordoba is packing. It could be anything from a 318 V8 to a big 400 V8. What we do know is that it's got an automatic transmission, which is typical for these luxury cruisers. The clean title is definitely a plus, giving you some peace of mind about the car's history. However, the lack of detailed information in the listing means you'll want to ask a lot of questions and definitely see this car in person before making any decisions. At $6,500 or best offer, it's priced in the mid-range for a Cordoba of this era. The price could be justified if it's in good condition both mechanically and cosmetically, but without more information, it's hard to say for sure. Remember, this is a 46-year-old car, so expect some quirks and potential projects. But if you're looking for a classic 70s luxury cruiser with some serious style, this Cordoba could be worth checking out. As always, I strongly recommend seeing the car in person, getting a professional inspection if possible, and taking it for a test drive before making any decisions. If you're in the market for a piece of 70s automotive Americana, this 77 Chrysler Cordoba could be your ticket to classic car coolness. Just make sure to do your due diligence and ask plenty of questions. 18. We're diving into a true gem from the post-war era, a 1950 Ford Deluxe two-door sedan that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $14,500 or best offer. This green beauty is a time capsule on wheels, and let me tell you, it's got me all revved up. Now, let's get real about this Ford. The seller claims it's in excellent condition, and you know what? I'm inclined to believe them. With only 54,000 original miles on the clock, this Deluxe has barely broken in its flathead six-cylinder engine. Speaking of which, it's packing a 226 cubic inch inline six, paired with a 3-speed manual transmission on the column. Classic American engineering at its finest. What really catches my eye is the claim of zero rust. For a 73-year-old car, that's practically unheard of. The seller even goes as far as to say the paint job is show quality. If that's true, we're talking about a seriously well-preserved piece of automotive history here. But it's not just about looks. This Ford has had some serious TLC recently. We're talking a new clutch, battery, brakes, and a freshly rebuilt carburetor. That means this classic isn't just pretty, it's ready to hit the road. Now, it's not 100% perfect. The original bumpers have a few scuffs, but hey, that's character on a car of this vintage. Everything else is said to work as it should, which is impressive for a car from 1950. At $14,500, it's not cheap, but for a Deluxe in this condition, it could be a fair price. These cars are becoming increasingly rare, especially in such well-maintained condition. As always, I'd recommend seeing the car in person, maybe getting a professional inspection, and taking it for a spin if possible. But if you're in the market for a beautifully preserved piece of post-war American automotive history, this 1950 Ford Deluxe deserves a serious look. Remember, folks, they don't make them like this anymore. If you've got a hankering for some vintage Ford goodness, this Deluxe might just be your ticket to classic car nirvana. 19. We're diving into a real gem from the 80s, a 1984 Cadillac Eldorado that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $14,500. This red beauty is turning heads and making waves, and it might just be the classic cruiser you've been dreaming of. Now, let's get real about this Eldorado. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, and with only 47,000 miles on the odometer, it's practically a spring chicken for a car pushing 40 years old. They claim it's a West Coast car that's never seen rain or snow, which is music to any classic car lover's ears. That usually means less rust and wear. Under the hood, we've got the 4.1-liter V8 engine, paired with an automatic transmission and front-wheel drive. Now, I know what you're thinking. Front-wheel drive on a Cadillac? Yep, that's right. The '84 Eldorado was part of Cadillac's push into more modern, fuel-efficient designs. The seller says everything works as it should, which is pretty impressive for a car of this vintage. They're marketing it as a collector's showpiece, and if it's as clean as they say, it could definitely turn heads at car shows. One thing that's got me excited is that it's a convertible. Cadillac didn't officially make Eldorado convertibles in 1984, so this is likely an aftermarket conversion. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something you'd want to check out carefully in person. At $14,500, it's priced at the higher end for an '84 Eldorado. The price could be justified if it's truly in excellent condition and if that convertible conversion was done well. But as always, you'll want to see it in person to really assess its condition. Remember, this is a 39-year-old car, so even in great condition, it might have some quirks. But if you're looking for a classic '80s Cadillac with a twist, this Eldorado convertible could be a real conversation starter. As always, I recommend seeing the car in person, maybe getting a professional inspection, and taking it for a test drive if possible. But if you're in the market for a piece of '80s luxury with an open-top twist, this '84 Cadillac Eldorado convertible could be your ticket to cruising in style. 20. We're diving into a real gem from the past. A 1953 Chrysler Windsor that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist for $10,000 OBO. This classic beauty is a true time capsule, boasting all original parts and a clean title. The seller claims it's super clean inside and out, which is pretty impressive for a car pushing 70 years old. Now, I've got to be straight with you. This Windsor isn't ready to hit the road just yet. It's a non-runner, so you'll need to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty to bring this baby back to life. But hey, that's half the fun, right? Under the hood, you'll find a 6-cylinder engine paired with a manual transmission, giving you that authentic 50s driving experience. The odometer shows just 39,000 miles, which is pretty low for its age, but remember to take that with a grain of salt, given how old this ride is. This Windsor is rear-wheel drive, runs on gas, when it's running, that is, and could be an amazing project for the right person. Just keep in mind, you'll need to arrange pickup if you decide to make it yours. So, if you're looking for a slice of automotive history and don't mind putting in some work, this 1953 Chrysler Windsor might just be the project you've been waiting for. Give the seller a call. They prefer calls over texts. And who knows? You might be cruising in 50s style before you know it.